I am a true Belizean.
Tell them that we born there.
Belize my home, my native land.
Tell them that we born there.
I want you people to understand.
Tell them that we born there.
I am proud to be a Belizean.
Tell them that we born.
This is Naval String Connections. I am Bilal Morris, your host today, along with my co-host ARIA Lightfoot will be coming in a little later on and joining us. Again, this is Naval String Connections. I'm Bilal Morris, and live from my studio here in Los Angeles, California. Welcome to another episode of the Belizean Show in the Belizean Diaspora, coming to you live on XTV and Belizeans abroad, wherever you are listening and watching. Those of you in the United Kingdom, all of you in the United States who can see this broadcast on Facebook, on YouTube, we welcome you. Some of you are still just tuning in. We welcome you to a very exciting show today. And we want again to say this show is a XTV production. Our producer is Noor Muhammad, and our man behind the controls, our engineer, is Harlan. We have a very important guest today, very special guest, Wellington Ramos, a Belizean journalist, a Belizean legendary football player from the legendary 70s Belize football explosion at the MCC grounds, what they used to call fire on the barracks. Wellington Ramos wears two hats today. We'll be talking about the passing of the legendary Belizean football player, the Belizean football great, Enrique Ricky Gongora. And I want to see if our brother Harlan may have a picture. We know that Ricky Gongora was in the news on on XTV and also in Mandala. If Harlan, if you can find a copy of the photo of the legendary Belizean football player, we want to start talking about that. We'll also be having Wellington Ramos join us talking about the crisis in the United Democratic Party, opposition party, the whole issue of Moses Shine Barrow and his situation that he's facing in being replaced. Our brother Wellington being a journalist for many, many years, writing about these issues, Belizean political issues, will give us some kind of scoop and understanding. Wellington is on the ground in Dangriga presently. He lives in New York, but he's presently in his hometown, Dangriga. And he's joining us directly from off the ground. So as the old saying Creole, when fish come from river bottom, said I saw. If they're not saw, they're nearly saw. We have Wellington Ramos will be sharing with us those two issues. We'll also have our brother Meheia coming in, hopefully later on, and talking about the tribute and honor that will be held for the legendary Belizean artist and Brockdung princess, the Brockdung goddess, Layla Vernon, who will be honored. We'll be talking about that, being that Will is live from out of PG, and Layla Vernon, there is a award given in her honor. Every September celebrations, the Layla Vernon Award, and I remember my brother Leonidas Sanchez won that award one time. Will be also briefing us on the situation on the Saskatoon and the recent aspect with the Anglo-Guatemalan claim and how does things look at the ICJ. And we want to, again, welcome you, our viewers, and our listeners who are just tuning in. And welcome, Wellington, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my brother Bilal, and I'm so happy to be given this opportunity by XTV, your staff, and everybody who are aware of my contributions to sports and politics and other things, community service in my city of New York, that I'm getting ready to probably depart soon to come back home to Dangriga, Belize. There's a lot of work to be done in our country. Thank you again.
My brother, absolutely. Wellington, we want to kick it right off, brother, and we want to pay a special tribute to the legendary and great Belizean footballer Enrique Ricky Gongora, who passed away recently. And we know that you also a footballer and a legendary footballer. And we also want to mention that Wellington Ramos is also the president of the Belizean Caribbean Football Hall of Fame. That is a Belizean Hall of Fame that comes directly out of New York. Belizeans in the diaspora, his brother has done some great work as a Belizean in the diaspora for decades, and we also want to mention that. But Wellington, you played out of Orange Walk with the great Gregsy Jones, and you play on that national Orange Walk team, and you have played in all these national Belizean football competitions in the 70s yourself, a legend in football yourself. Talk about the brother, the legend, Enrique Ricky Gongora.
Yes, when I went to Belize in the 1970s, I ended up joining the police force in 1973. So I played for Police Invaders. At that time, Ricky was playing for Berger 404, and Berger 404, Landiva, Charger, White Label, those were the big teams to beat. Because of the lack of support we got from the police command, we didn't compete like we did earlier when the Police Invaders went to the finals against Landiva. And Landiva defeated the Police Invaders. It was a very good game, exciting game. Guys like Waitio, Tokotako Kelvin, Rupert Anderson, all those guys were playing for Landiva at the time. So our hope was that the Police Invaders was going to build on their team so they could have a chance. But I got transferred to Orange Walk in 1974. When I got to Orange Walk in 1974, football was dormant. So because football is my sport of love, I decided to form a team. The team was Caribbean 11, and that team was supported by Quayor Brothers. Shortly after I formed the team, a famous football player from Orange Walk by the name of Stud Hendricks, he formed another team. That team was called Santos. So I think they were angry because somebody from out of town came and formed a football team, revitalized football, and they were not doing anything. But within a space of like 3 months, teams were popping up all over Orange Walk Town and Orange Walk District. So the then era rep, Joe Briseno, who is the father of the current Prime Minister, John Briseno, asked me and a couple of other players to start Orange Walk competition. And we did start the competition with about 15 teams. And when we started that competition, All Belize was the team to beat because they never lost a championship for like 3 or 4 years. So everybody was preparing to meet All Belize. We selected the best players at the end of the competition. And after we selected those players, we started to get ready for the inter-district competition. But it was a knockout round. And the way it was set up, we played against Corozal and we defeated Corozal. So the next team that we played was All Belize. And when we played All Belize, that stadium was packed because everybody wanted to see that game. I could tell you that that competition was held in 1975. That's when that inter-district competition was held.
Yeah.
Delhard Courtney was the referee for that game. We were so prepared for that game that I think we scored a total of 7 goals. But we were only given 4 goals. And we ended up defeating Al Belize. And that was the first time Al Belize was defeated by an inter-district team from outside over a period of 3 years. But the problem was to get out of the stadium. So we had to be escorted out of the stadium by police. And the late Dean Linder came and took us to Pickwick Club, which was right next to MCC grounds. And then we spent a couple of hours there and we got out of town. I don't think Ricky was playing for Al Belize then because Ricky is younger than I am. But you will start to hear about Ricky Gongora shortly thereafter because at the time that I started playing football in Belize, there was a junior and senior league. So a lot of players started with the junior teams and then they rose up to the senior teams. But there were some exceptionally good players like Ricky Gongora and Maurice Jones and a few others who went straight to senior because they attracted a lot of attention. So I remember playing against Ricky when he was playing for Borja 4. And I was playing for Police Invaders. Even though I was transferred, we still had to come to Belize City and play. And they gave us time and pass and a little bit of traveling money to go and play those games in the city. When I first saw Ricky Gongora, he kind of reminded me of another Enrico Carballo.
Yes.
Who I started to play football with in Orange Walk, and I played with him on 3 teams. I played with him for Riverside, I played for the All Orange Walk selection, and I played with him for Cheetahs 11. Ricky is a guy that doesn't waste no time. As soon as he gets that ball, he's going to pull it at goalkeeper. And it's going to be a hard shot. If that goalie is caught half-guarded, that goal is going to score. How did Ricky and I become teammates? Well, I was stationed in Hattieville as a corporal in charge of Hattieville. And Borja 404 had won the championship. So Mr. Black, who was the manager, allegedly had given BILAL some money to throw a victory party. But BILAL did not throw the victory party. So they went after BILAL and asked him about the victory party. And BILAL did not respond to them positively. So they had an argument. And when they had the argument, BILAL decided, you know what? I'm going to be better with you guys. I'm going to start my own team. When BILAL started his team, he brought the team to Hattieville. So we had a team in Hattieville, but the players were not all that. The best player out of the crowd was Paco Lewis and myself. He's another very good striker, Paco Lewis.
Very much.
So when they came to play against us, we ended up drawing the game with them. And then after the game, BILAL come and he spoke to me. He said, I like how you play. Who are you? And how can we get you to join our team? So I told him I'm Wellington Ramos. I'm from Orange Walk. I just got transferred down here. But I can't commit to your team because this team needs a lot of work. But I could help you build this team. He said, okay. So I told him I have a friendship with Mr. Tito Mai, who owns the vegetable shop by the canal. And if I go with him to see him on a Friday, we will be able to get some additional players. Since he worked at the market, he came across that Friday. I was down there waiting for him. And that was the birth of Cheetahs 11. Now, BILAL was able to pull Fabian Rivero, Ricky Gongora, and Salad Oil, who are exceptionally good players. So Borja will lose these 3 valuable and important players. Saladar is one of the best defense that ever played football in Belize. His name is Harrison Flowers. One of the best midfield at the time. And not only is he a midfielder, he can score too. And then Ricky Gongora was one of their best strikers. So I told him we're going to go to Orange Walk and I'm going to talk to Carballo, Brexit Jones, and other people, Contreras, so that we could reinforce his team because the objective is to win. So Mr. Mai told him, look, I'll tell my son to go with Mr. Ramos or Injua to talk with those guys because the marathon is next week. We don't have no time to waste. And we went to Rinjua. I spoke to all my friends, and they committed themselves to be part of Cheetahs. That same weekend, Pops and I went to Chetamal and bought the uniforms, and we were ready for the marathon the following week. But most people in Belize City, they were fans of White Label, Charger, Borgia 404, and Landiva. So this Cheetahs 11 thing was like a laughing stock to them. But the games are going to be scheduled, and as soon as the game started and they started to look at the way Cheetahs was playing, people started to get real uneasy. They said, this look like an all-star team brought from all over the country, and these guys are not running any joke. So we had several encounters with all the teams. Borgia was the biggest team that challenged us. And whenever we played against Borgia, because of the feud, it attracted the most crowd. And we were able to win the Belize City Championship. And that year, Avengers won the inter-district competition. So we ended up playing against Avengers with Tash Gutierrez, Speedy Henry, Papi Smith, Osetta, Wagner, Bedran, all the famous top football players who are Hall of Fame caliber. And we defeated Avengers for the Champ of Champs. And when we defeated Avengers for the Champ of Champs, the Belize Football Association said that they were going to bring a team from Mexico, Universidad de Guadalajara. And they brought that team from Mexico, and we were able to defeat them as well, 2-1. Unfortunately, that was my last game that I played in Belize because I left to come to the United States on the 14th of July, 1978. But I never did stop playing football. I played football in several tournaments in New York, at Boys and Girls High School, Boys High, Jamaica, at the Bronx Yankee Stadium where Braves had its competition. I left New York, went and joined the service. I played football in Germany. I even had an opportunity to coach. Football is my love. I have a passion for this sport. And I'm telling you, Ricky Gongora was one of the greatest strikers in Belize history. And he was inducted into the Belize Football Hall of Fame just a couple of years ago. We had a nice ceremony when he was inducted in Brooklyn, New York. We communicate with each other on a regular basis. Last week, when I got a call that he had passed away on Saturday, that really splintered my heart because he was a friend of mine, a real good friend. And I just sent you the death announcement that we put out from BACFA.
Very much.
And I know for a fact that the final arrangements have been made. I'm about to get it tonight from his brother-in-law, Bono Carl Roberto, who used to be one of the best goalkeepers in Belize, grabbed for Borgia 404. But he didn't send it yet, but he told me that the funeral will be this coming Saturday. And they're going to have, he's going to be laid to rest at the cemetery at 3 miles. And then they're going to have a repast. The game, I think, is going to be a big repast because a lot of people are going to be there. They gave me a big venue, but I don't want to give you false information. So I sent you I just emailed you the death announcement with his pictures and everything from different teams. Yeah. And as soon as I get the funeral arrangements, I'm going to pass that on to you.
Very much so. And my brother, I'm glad that you were able to give, as a footballer yourself that played with that giant, that outstanding. He used to say, Wellington, that Ricky was a right foot or a left foot cannon, no? But they didn't. He said to me in an interview on Belize and Legends that they didn't know that, but I had both right and left foot cannon. Talk about his shots, man.
Well, when he shoot the ball, you could see those goalkeepers, like some of them couldn't hold the ball. So instead of holding the ball, they just have to bang it out. But you know, in football, Once a goalkeeper bang out a ball, that gives the offense another chance to score at him. The objective is to try and hold the
Get
ball.
that photo up again, Harlan. Get that photo up with Ricky. Yeah, go ahead, Wellington. Go ahead, Wellington.
Yeah, the Carballo and Ricky, the two of them are Enrique. So what a coincidence. And they were powerful strikers. Everybody, some goalkeepers would say, hold a man, hold a man, hold a man. They were so afraid of their shots. That is like a bullet coming.
Yes, yes. And sensational, brother. You know, you would see Ricky. I saw Ricky play from primary school football, you know, St. Martin's. And they used to be as Wellington as you and a lot of the legendary ballers always talk about. Belize's greatness in sports started with primary school sports, primary school football, all across the districts that produce greats like Uno. And I remember him playing for St. Martin's, and Harlan put that picture up of Ricky Gongaro, man, not the team. And I remember him playing on St. Martin's, brother. And at the time, the rivalry between St. John's and St. Joseph school. And I remember the St. Martin's under Ricky Gongora and a lot of the other, and Goatman and all of them that was on that team. I mean, these ballers came from out of primary school football, Wellington, right? Like you in Dangriga that came from out of Methodist U and Rio. And the whole excitement about Belizean football is it's so electric. I mean, when you talk about it. But Ricky Gongora was the striker he was a primary school football player. And they won several of the primary school competitions in the Belize district, and got beat maybe by Joseph, maybe once, St. Joseph School. Talk about primary school football, Wellington, Ramos, as you as a producer, as a product of primary school football in Belize, and why is it that primary school football is not there anymore?
Bilal, I'm so glad that you brought up this topic. It is not only primary school football in Dangriga, but it's also community football. Dangriga is divided into several communities, and each community have their own football team. And customarily, we play against each other when we are in our communities, but then when we go and play for school, we play on the same team. Now, I grew up in the heart of Dangriga in an area called Sacred Heart Community, which is by the Sacred Heart Catholic Church.
Yes.
I also, by the place called Logan Field where they built the reservoir. So that football field is right in front of my house. So I had no choice, and we in the neighborhood, but to play football and cricket. Those were the two sports that we played. Bok Palacio, Garincha, Brazilian. Those are some of the guys that I played with at Sacred Heart School. When we started to play for Sacred Heart School, the strongest primary school team in Dangriga was Methodist School. They had some very good players. They won the first primary school competition that was held in Dangriga in 1966. That was organized by the late Carl Ramos, who was the one that organized the primary school competition here in Dangriga. He did a lot for primary school competition. And then we won back-to-back, 66 and 67. Then what happened in 65, because the Catholic population on the south side was growing so fast, the Catholic Church decided to start Holy Ghost School on the south side. But there are more people on the south side of Dangriga than the north side of Dangriga today. And what happened, the population is growing so fast, and still is growing, that Holy Ghost came and defeated us in 1968. And since 68, Holy Ghost has won the most primary school competitions that were held in Dangriga. Before that, it was Sacred Heart. The Methodist school population declined, Adventist has grown, and around 1980, 81, they decided not to do primary school competition here no more. And that is a big mistake, because Belize need to have primary school competition, high school competition, and college competition. Now, luckily for us, we have what we call the Mayor's Cup in Dangriga. And the Mayor's Cup has produced a lot of teams in Dangriga town. So that is what has been keeping football alive here in Dangriga, the Mayor's Cup. No regular competition, just the Mayor's Cup. Last year, surprisingly, a team from Bakatong won the Mayor's Cup.
Wow.
And I was supporting a team called Griga Conquerors, because Griga Conquerors, to me, is the best team in Dangriga, but then the Bakatong guys beat them. But Griga Conquerors is still a formidable team. Wagia is not so much of a formidable team no more. So people don't really go to watch their games like they would go and watch a Mayor's Cup whenever Griga Conquerors is playing.
Yes.
But we need to bring back primary school competition, high school competition, and college competition, since we have a few colleges in Belize now. And that will just enhance the sport and will produce a lot more better players.
Yes. So you think that the FFB is on task with that? You're on the ground in Dangriga. I know you're back and forth between New York and Belize occasionally, and I know you have some close scoop inside of the FFFB, the Belize Football Federation. Talk about what's their program in terms of bringing back this whole dynamic excellence in football that we see the legendary and great Ricky Gongara and yourself exemplified, having to be primary school football players right up into high school, then right up into the pros, if we want to say that.
I'm very disappointed in the FFB, and I've been disappointed in the FFB for many years now, because we have changed a lot of presidents, a lot of officers, but we have gotten no word for the money that is being spent on football in Belize. In fact, I keep saying this, the way how Belize play football is worse than back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And when we go to the CONCACAF games and we enter these tournaments, it is shown that Belize is a laughing stock to the rest of countries. I give you some examples. Teams like Nicaragua never ever defeated Belize in any CONCACAF games, but now, over the years, Nicaragua has been beating Belize, and they have these small little islands like Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, and all these places. They're running all over Belize. But not only the league is to be blamed. There are a couple of factors here. One, because they are paying these players, they consider themselves to be professionals. That has gotten to their heads. But these are professional people only because they are being paid, but they are not playing any kind of professional football, to my knowledge. I have gone to see Belize play in the United States. I went to see a game that they played against Cuba in Hartford, Connecticut. I was at that game. And the style of ball that Belize is playing is solely defensive, not offensive. If you don't score goals, you can't win the game.
Absolutely.
So you can't stick on playing defensive for 90 minutes. You have to stretch out the team, play man-to-man football, put somebody on the line, cut, and shoot. That's the only way you're going to get goals. And Belize have been playing defensive football over and over and over again, that when the other teams start to bring down the offense on them, they clog themselves up in the goal, and they block the goalkeeper's vision. They create a lot of chaos among themselves, and at times they even score on themselves. So that is because of the type of coaching that they have been getting, and the way how the players, they take this game like a joke. They don't have the love and passion for the sport no more. We had love, we had passion. We did a lot of things to become exceptionally great football players. We didn't complain, we were not even getting paid. For all the years I played football, there was no money given. And to tell you the sad news, when we won the championship in 1978, the trophies were donated by Standard Oil Esso. Do you know, I put that trophy on my shelf for some years because I was so proud. One day I noticed that the trophy got brown, the ball and the man. So I said, what the hell is this? And when I took a closer look at the man and the ball, it was plastic. So for all the efforts that I made, players like myself could tell you that those medals and trophies that they give for the amount of money that they made of us playing football in Belize is nothing. We deserve a lot more better than that. But it will take the players who have played the sport to start to advocate for more things so that we can improve not only the way football is played, but the way football players are being treated in Belize. Because a lot of our players now, they are sick, they don't have a job, they have no visible means of subsistence. I brought that to your attention. I said, we recently got our tax exempt. We got to put in for our grant proposal so we can give some of these players some stipend, subsidy, or help them with something, because they have given their time and made all their efforts towards this sport.
As you talk about that, talk about the need now. And I was reading Charlie Hyde's editorial about the need for a National Football Hall of Fame. I spoke with Evan X. Hyde some time back, and he mentioned that his father, Mr. Charles Hyde, it's not an old idea that Mr. Charles Hyde tried to, he had designed, actually, a Hall of Fame, but that it never did got off the ground. But talk about the very need of this, Wellington, or great footballers, and Belizean footballers are passing away. We can go on and make a list and a name. The Belizean Caribbean Football Hall of Fame has honored so many of them, from way back in the 60s, Queen's Park Rangers, to all the way to Ricky Gongora, who you recently honored in the diaspora. But what about our Belize National Football Hall of Fame on the ground in Belize itself? It's a thing which time has come. Now we have Belize music history that has been honoring the great legendary Belizean music legends of the past and bringing Belizean music history to the forefront of this young generation, connecting them. Let's reconnect our young Belizean athletes with their past of greatness in sports. Talk about the need for this Belize National Football Hall of Fame, Wellington Ramos.
That is very much needed, because people need to know what the elders did in the past, and they need to honor these players, because when the young kids watch the games, right, they try to say, you know what, I like how Ricky Gongora play, either Ricky Gongora, and they start to emulate these football players. And it motivates the younger children to say, I want to be like Ricky Gongora, I want to be like Enrique Caraballo, and I want to play football just like him. In my days, I looked at Toboka, I looked at D-Line, I looked at all the players around that I watched, and I said, man, when I grow up, I want to play football like those guys.
Yes.
The FIFA, I was told, had given the Football Association some money years ago to enact a Football Hall of Fame so that they could give these players their respect. But the money just went wasted. They didn't spend the money to enact the Hall of Fame. The thing that has this thing in the situation that is in right now is because there is this belief that FIFA is in a world by itself and they make their own laws and they can govern football in any country and every country the way they see it fit. But I totally disagree with that concept. I think that our government has to take on the responsibility, whoever becomes the minister of sport, to look at sport from a different perspective. Sports is not only for you to entertain people. Sports is a multi-billion-dollar business. If the minister of sport is a visionary, or he can come up with a plan where money will be generated for all the sports, not only football, and that will pay for itself. There was a time when the sponsors for the teams in Belize, when we didn't have professional football, they were saying to the football association, look, if we go professional, I don't mind investing my money because people like Perdomo, Brisenians and them, they really love the sport. They have a passion for it. And they like to compete.
They played it. I think Brisenia played football.
Yeah, he played football.
And they say he was a goalkeeper. Yeah.
And they bet big money on these games while the players who played got nothing. Right now in the United States, sport betting is now legal. At our time, years ago, sport betting was illegal. But they come to the conclusion that, look, we can make money off this sport, so let's legalize sport betting. And this is one of the reasons why, you know who was inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame recently? After many years of being banned?
Yes.
Pete Rose.
Yeah, Pete Rose. The big time gambler.
Yeah, big time gambler. They were forced to.
Yeah.
They said, well, we don't
He bet
legalize
against he won game.
So let us just put him in the Hall of Fame, and he's deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. Because he had some of the most hits in baseball, and he was a very good player and manager.
Yeah. Chip in if you may, Aria, because this conversation needs you. We're talking about now the politics of sports. Yeah.
Yes, it is the politics of
Enters
sports.
Aria.
Well, apologies for being late. You know, I played sports, not football, when I was growing up, and I know that many times the people who participate out of pure love. And the ones who don't participate, many times it's because they don't get the exposure. And you're right, even when I was going to primary school, they played sports in primary school. It didn't start at high school. But with that being said, and FIFA, Netflix did a great documentary. I don't know if you saw it, where to show you how powerful the football and corrupt the football organization is, where they influence politics and different things in different countries. And with that being said, because sports is always supposed to be a pure, it's supposed to be pure, it's supposed to be about competition, the best rises type stuff. Do you think that Belize environment, FIFA, and the way we govern, don't you think all that contributes to the fact that sports has declined a lot over the years, where we were champions? I met an American woman couple of days, actually in Virginia. I was in Virginia this weekend, and I met this American woman who told me she plays softball. And I was telling her about how Belize was so great at softball. 50 years ago, we were champions. What do you think is the decline in sports? I know we have a lot of sports happening. We see a lot of events going on. Outside of volleyball, we really don't see excellence. In football, what we see is our teams being devastated, and the citizenry isn't kind to them, not understanding that they're not given the resources. Many times it's not their fault. There's no adequate training before they take on these teams. And so how do you think we can fix this? Because whoever leads these organizations have to have the passion to build it, to fix it. And I think a lot of times people take these big positions because it's a position. You know, but what are your thoughts about how Belize could improve the sports environment? I heard you say, and you might have said it before, I heard you say that starting from primary school. But I think it's more than that. I think it's building teams. How do you go about building teams in Belize? Teams that last. People live all over Belize. We're not a big country, but the travel is oppressive for a lot of people. So how do we address the fact that a lot of the talent might not even be in the city, it might be in the bush, somewhere inaccessible for regular travel. How do we fix that? What are your thoughts?
Very good question. When I was in Germany, I learned something that I didn't see in Belize, where in addition to teams, they have clubs in every community. What these clubs do is they engage the parents, they engage the entire community, and every club gets support from their community. They do not wait on the government. The players that come out of these clubs, in Germany, they have two leagues. They have the Bundesliga and they have the professional league. So, because they have two leagues, Belize can model itself off that by continuing the inter-district competition, but don't allow any team to come into the inter-district competition. Let each district select their best players like it was.
Right.
That way we'll have real competition and passion, because no district want to lose.
Yep.
When these players get to a certain age and they start from kiddie soccer all the way up to teenage soccer, and then when they become teenagers, the scouts, they start to come around to draft them into the professional league. And once they sign a contract to be in a professional team, they come back to their club and they are given a big party throwdown, because they want to get to the professional league. When they get their money, you know what they do? They take a percentage of their salary to donate back to their clubs. Now, the clubs can have different teams because it's a club. And what the club do, it will be responsible for the sustainability of the sport. You can do that for any sport in Belize, but like you mentioned, softball. I remember when they had a team from Belize that used to come down here by the name of Dunright. And
right.
Dunright used to play against Falcons. Falcon was a Dangriga team, and those were good teams. Belize beat the Bahamas, Belize beat Jamaica, but
And the
the people that were involved in those sports, most of them are dead. They're not dead. They're not around, they are dying. They're sick right now. But we can get back to those days if we bring in the people that have the love, like you said, the passion, and we have a structure where we have clubs for these sports, and then we have the clubs build different teams so that they can go into competition and compete. Because nobody wants to lose, you know. Because losing is not something that people take easy.
So it's
But
not
you
only
do
money.
your best.
That's how Tampa does it too, because my son plays soccer, football, and track. So that's how they do it here. What they do, they have clubs. And then what they do, they actually train, they recruit parents to become coaches and referees. And then they do the training. They do like a online training. They teach them just, basic skills. And then I guess the more advanced parents would coach up. And honestly, out of the club that my son was in, his track and his football club, there's this kid right now playing on the Packers, Christian Watson. He came out of those clubs. And now he is elite, because what these clubs do, you have, I think they said it starts off with 1 million in the US. It starts off with 1 million players, and as they age up, the ones who are excelling keep going elite. So until you reach the point where you have the ones who go professional. And that's why it's effective, because you're competing from you're very young. The ones who are good at it will keep doing it. The ones who aren't as great will tend to fall off or go into the recreational type clubs. But what it does, it's fair, because there's no hand picking people. People are winning based on their talent. And I always say Belize has great players because we go out of Belize and we excel.
That's right.
If you put a Belizean into a well structured environment, they excel. And I still don't understand how we're a British colony because, yes, there's colonialism, but the one thing the British was good at is order and structure. So
Right.
I think that
Discipline.
I think that the only thing in colonialism that we got rid of, order and structure, and then we keep the wrong parts of it, you know. It's really about structure. You're right. It's about structure and doing things the right way and doing it over and over. And I think that that's one of our things where with sports, you can't take the lackadaisical environment and put it into a professional environment. And it's not fair for our kids because that destroys their self-esteem. And it's not that they're not good. It's really because they're poorly trained, you know. And I've seen kids come up here and play. I've seen good teams, like when you know the coach is very involved, you see the team is very, you know, competitive and passionate. But sometimes you see these teams get beat up. It's almost like they're children playing with adults, and you see the dejection of these children. And I think we need to start building self-esteem in Belize, and sports is great at building somebody's self-esteem. But it also has the opposite effect, right? If you put somebody in an environment where they're not trained, and then you, like, to me, as a Belizean, and I know people always tell me I like comment about Belize, but as a Belizean, Belizeans are very proud when you see Belizeans doing well. But we are also the first set of people for attack each other when we think that we're not doing well. Like, we need for kind of shift and understand that sports, that's something you need for build up people to become great. And I want to see sometimes the leader doesn't even have to be an ex-sports person. It just have to be a great organizer. I think what a lot of what happen in Belize, we feel like because somebody play a sport, they could lead one organization, a two totally different skill set. And I really think that's what's happening with us in our country. We put people that we say, oh, this person may good at this, but that don't mean I could lead one organization, which is somewhat different, you know.
Organize along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the clubs are very important because they nurture the young players. They have a disciplinary code of ethics. And because Belize does not have a lot of clubs, some of these players, they have no discipline. Their lifestyle is not good for sports because when you play a sport, you have to discipline yourself and you have to decide to discipline your lifestyle. You can't be out there bleaching, smoking, drinking, and doing all these things before a game. And there are certain things you just don't do because you work a whole week, right? From Monday to Saturday, you are in the field working out. You have a game on Sunday. You're supposed to be in your bed Saturday because you have to be well rested before you go and play the game.
With favorite word,
it was strict. The coaches used to go around looking for their players at the bars. Sometimes they lock them up in a place so that they don't leave before the game. And after the game, then you celebrate. But these days, some of these players, they're celebrating before the game and they end up going there tired. Once you see a player start to put his hand on his hip, it's because he's done for the game. He's tired. He can't do nothing.
Yes, sir.
No, I think it's very important what you're saying, discipline. And, you know, discipline are one of the things where we hate the most, I believe. Is, everything now, we really don't like it. I mean, I don't know what happened to us as a people, but I think we need to start to go back to basics. And I think sports could help because sports, you could discipline in a fun way. It's not, in a feel as, when you have a good coach, when you have a very good coach, that spirit that a coach carries on with their team. And that is likewise when you have a bad coach too. And I see it because my sons, all of my kids, they play sports here. And sports is also commitment. Like the parents have to commit to showing up. They have to commit to taking them places. And, I think that we do our young people an injustice, especially when you see so many young people fall at the wayside. And honestly, I'm happy that I'm seeing more sports right now in Belize because it seems like they're trying to change it. But when you see so many we know a country of young people that have an extraordinary high death rate. And an all event violence, then the dead from motorcycle now, or then the crash, or that just violence for young people, domestic otherwise. And you have to ask, what would we need what young people plan in the country that's tied to not only sports, but sports being a very important tool. The little young guy that passed away recently, the little boy who fell in the canal, that now an example to me of the kids don't have any place to play. So when you deal with young boys always need for the expend energy. They always want to run boat and they take risk and they climb and they run. That when they're supposed to grab them up and then they race each other and they do think that what they do here. Like kids start sports at 5 years old. At 5 years old, kids start track and field. They start soccer, and the soccer that literally just all of them they run and see who could kick the ball in first. It is not even fully organized. They just forget the ball handling aspect of the game going. We could do that for Lord with only 400,000 people. I always say Belize is too small.
And we need to look at sports as an alternative to crime. I mean, that was what the 70s and the 80s. All these young people, as you were saying, ARIA, that has all this talent, not only energy and getting into mischief, but it says the devil has work for idle hands, right? Across that country, there's so much talent. And we see when they fall through the cracks, and I would like Wellington to address this because as a spin-off from what you were saying, ARIA, I think that our government in the past used to look at sports as an alternative to crime because Wellington and Ricky Gongaras and the Marius Joneses and the ladies on the softball and sports as on a whole across that country didn't have time to get involved with any kind of criminal activity.
But
What is the
Wellington
difference
was a
between
police,
now and
right?
then?
Wellington, you are a police. You ever see they try chase some and then the young boy and then they jump fence and them but supposed to be
Outperform, yeah, right?
You know what I mean?
Well,
if you could run over fence and they run that fast.
Yes.
Then
Speak
for
from
this
it out. Yes, indeed. You could speak from it too, from a law enforcement aspect too, Wellington, because you are.
when I was a police,
so.
when I was a police officer in Belize, there was not as much crimes as we have now. In fact, the bodily crimes was mostly in the northern part of Belize, murder and those kind of high crimes. Even drug, when it comes to the plantation of marijuana, and was always in the north. Belize City, you will have some bodily crimes like a little bit of stabbing and fight and aggravated assault, but mostly theft, because
Burglary.
people they choose to thief something because maybe they don't have it or they're just like thief. Belize City was divided into 9 sections at the time, and each section had a police officer that was visible on the beat. Then we had a corporal patrolling in a vehicle to make sure that the police was on his beat. And if the police was not on his beat, then we'll put that police officer in charge. Now, Belize has changed because of a lot of reasons. One is that people that come from the United States, they come back to Belize and they bring a different type of crime into the society and a different type of mentality. The poverty has increased. And I'm not saying that to go and take something that doesn't belong to you is the right thing because you don't have a job. But if a man doesn't have something, he's going to steal. I'm not saying every human being will steal.
Especially food if he's
The more
hungry.
people you have living in poverty, the more you increase the risk of having theft to go up. Violent crimes are in Belize now because we have gangs now. And a lot of these gang members, they come from overseas. They're living in the United States. They probably were members of gangs over there.
Or
they
Central America,
Same
because we have
things.
a
They do
lot
the
of
same things that the gangs did in
Central
America.
American gangs now.
Yes. So we never used to chase kids in Belize for playing football because football was at the barracks, football was at the Abra, football was back at Lake Independence. In fact, if I give you a story, you won't even believe this. When Cheetahs 11 started to play football, we didn't have a field to practice. You know where we practiced? We practiced at the same lot where Briseño have his ESO gas station right now, at the corner of Central American Boulevard and Cemetery Road. That's where Cheetahs used to practice.
Oh,
In that little space. But we found the time and ways to use the ball control and everything right there. And we used to run all the way from there to Bolton Bridge and come back.
Yeah.
Because where there's a will, there's a way. And the biggest puzzle right now is that in those days we had no coaches. We didn't have money to buy football. We didn't have no money to buy football boots. We didn't have no money to buy uniforms. But today, the Belize Football League has millions and millions of dollars to spend on development programs, to buy everything that the little kids need for their development. So this is the puzzle. What are they spending this money on? Where is this money going? We cannot afford to see we're spending more and we're getting less quality. That don't make no sense. We have to hold somebody accountable for this. If we don't do it, we are going to keep hoping for Belize to win a World Cup. All of us going to die and Belize will never win a World Cup. That's
But
sad.
is it something where, and this is why I'm saying that because you play football mean that you could run one organization. You could throw money at one lot of waste of time. Like, it's not that they spend it, you're just not being efficient with the spending. Like, what are the development programs they're spending on? Maybe they're not something will improve upon the overall skill of the player, you know what I mean? Maybe that's something where just to send a lot of people abroad instead of focus on just one set of people that you're developing one team. Like, maybe we should advocate for a national team. Like all these other countries, when you have one national team, then people are paid. They're not going to work and then having to finish work and then go, after that go, go play one sport. Right now, from what I understand, the government asked for 19 vehicles. Each one of their vehicles where the government continues to buy could sponsor one team, at least for an amount of time. When we were growing up, I know this to be a fact, government vehicle, they used to get duct tape on there sometime. Nothing me fancy about government vehicle. Government vehicle was to get workers from A to B. This are the shift what I'm telling you about our priorities change. Suddenly government vehicle become high-end vehicles and people are using them, driving all over the place, using the gas, and these are resources that can be diverted to building one national team. Because you have to think about what one decent salary is in Belize. Say one decent salary at $10 an hour, 40 hours a week, and your team need for have one minimum of what, 20? What are the minimum with your extras? 11 players on the field, right? and then maybe 9 alternative, I don't know, whatever it is.
That's correct.
But basically, you want to have 20 players that qualify. And each year, you like they're doing that every other sport in the world, you have to qualify. That means the younger players get to compete for your position. But after they got their players, to me, after you play for 5 years, getting a pension, but give them a livable salary and play sports as that their job. Your job that I had one cousin when me there on her national team for volleyball. She said when she was preparing for her team, they work out 8 hours a day, and 8 hours a day and not just work out. Some of it that watch film, strategy, but that every single day they do whatever. She said every day I have a workout session, of course, because you have to keep your body in a tip-top shape. But they're doing this every single day. They're getting a salary so that I don't have to worry about tired, go back later, go do it. I think the answer is for have national teams. So what teams would we be successful at? Football, volleyball, and I think that track and field. Because track and field, we don't need 20 people. You just need maybe 10 elite players or runners and people to participate on the team. Every year you make them compete, but every year we can't write that into our budget. We have, and I know people like think I'm critical about politics. It's just that I, like you, Mr. Ramos, I study politics. Right now, the Belize have almost 20-something ministers of government where they collect salary when a lot of them are just sub-ministers. In other words, they're doing nothing but collecting salary. That is not beneficial to Belizeans at all.
Efficient.
So why not take away some of their position there, find the money where you can, and give it to some players? Give it to the different football. Every district every district have one team, and then the national team competes from every single district. You have one big tournament, and that tournament that for compete for play on the actual national team. And you do like when you compete, you have to run race, you have to jump, you have to do this, all these skill sets that you have to qualify for outside of just win one game. We have it, we have Belizeans. When we did the Belize Diaspora Summit, we got Belizeans where they coach NBA players. We got Belizeans where compete for a high level. Like we have it. It's just everything to me that it boils down to our will to do it. And the will, we can't continue live one life where it's all about just me. Because we were not here to stay forever. And when your me is over, you will leave no legacy behind. You will leave nothing for a generation. Say, man, George Price got a statue to this day. Why? Because the man had a vision. Golson have a bus today. Why? Because the man was willing to go to jail for a year based on what he believed. That's the way I'm trying to say. Like today, most Belizeans would say, I don't want none of them politician for my money. I don't want to sit for their statute. Because we reached a stage in Belize where I feel politics is not serving us. It's just a divisive tool right now that filters into self-interest, self-enrichment. And then we watch with poor young people and the struggle. It's hard. It's really disheartening if you play sports in your life for watch all their young people with crazy talent. In fact, talent in more than just sports. But we don't give them no outlet. So what happened? One lot of them left.
And get into crime. Yeah.
Or leave the country, and once you left Belize, we're not getting them back when they're young. Yeah. They might come back later in life, but once they leave, they're not coming back because our country will grab them. Yeah. Taiwan right now, how much Belizeans I understand are not coming back from Taiwan right now? Then just to take our citizens, why? Because we produce a high level of intelligent people. We're not gonna know
Brain
out.
drain. Yeah, we
Yeah.
continue the brain drain.
Yeah. And the sports want be that way too. Like every time so one of our kids they do excellent,
They leave.
they leave. Then go down, then go look, and once they leave, that's it. We're not getting them back. So we need for see, like I've always said, Belize as a country, because I know you like talk politics. Belize as a country has to put politics aside, and all the political parties need to come together and create one national development plan that moves outside of the political competition. That means that for the next 100 years, for we plan for develop sports, develop this, blah, 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 whatever it is they come up with. And no matter which party get in a power, they should all commit to continue
Yes,
a
indeed.
national development
That's the
plan.
problem. Don't throw away the baby and the bathwater when you come to power and start your own new thing all over, just reinventing the wheel over and over and over again.
Because it's really about getting rich. Politics, I believe, is a self-enrichment endeavor. This morning I was listening to George Maivit on radio. He called in on another radio station. He said something that was very profound, even though people have said it before. But he said that in Belize there's engineered poverty. And you have to look at it, what he is saying, as very true, because there's nothing that incentivizes our politicians to uplift people. Because poverty is the tool that they use to become elected. When you juxtapose that against tourism and foreigners come in, they're incentivized for create one beautiful brand for foreigners, great housing, great environment, great keep the place clean. They're incentivized to do that. But when it comes to our citizens, we have been promoting and encouraging poverty. And I've said this with something as simple as housing. We don't have no standard for our landlord rent a house.
Subhuman,
Yes, could be
very
the worst
subhuman
condition.
conditions.
But if I want to rent to the tourism market, they have to go inspect my house and make sure they're up to a quality standard for make you could rent for Airbnb to a foreigner. And to me, that says a lot, that when I say Belizeans, they get all involved with politics, they quarrel with each other for their politicians, and none of them know the benefit. And I'm talking about none of them benefit in the sense of their own communities are not benefiting, but they go hate by each other for politics. And when you ask one simple question, I believe is always, what's the right way of doing something? Why are we not doing it the right way? The politician turns around, appeals to your emotion, and your emotion not got nothing for the ethics, integrity, or nothing. They literally appeal to your emotions of, well, you know, it's not fair, and I don't like this one, and blah, 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 and that way we are caught up in hourly mess over here, but we know the same as citizens, how we are becoming lesser and lesser and lesser while we the create one Belize for other people to thrive. That the discussions where politicians need to be having. They are not the questions where if you live in a dilapidated house and then you go to the Keys and you see a lot of foreign ownership going on in the Key, and there people live in, and I'm not anti-foreign because I really support tourism and stuff. However, you have to look at how you treat the citizens and how you treat other citizens who are visiting. Same thing with our sports, right? Right now, if we bring in one of these celebrated Belize, we want to lay out the red carpet for one superstar basketball. You put the whatever in. We want to lay out the red carpet. We want to spend a lot of money for entertain one person instead of take that same money and run one league with a bunch of young people whether in our disadvantaged area, create one environment where safe for them. Like it's something where the colonialism I was talking about, colonialism teaches us that we are lesser. But the other part of that is it's very rule based. Part of the thing is we have kept is the punitive part of colonialism when it comes to punish people forever and ever and ever. And we look down upon our own people and we tease and clown and we never feel good. But then when these celebrity come in, we don't have no better story, have not done anything. We hero worship. Wow. For example, I always say, well, for example, sincere, whoever this person is, we want to sit there and we are hero worship and throw out the red carpet while Chico Ramos can't even get in the, can't even get in at the event.
Yeah.
And this man is revered amongst Central America and
Yeah.
the Caribbean. You understand what I'm saying? It's like we are so, we beat up for we own people. When for we own people get hurt, we don't care. But when we look on TV, I always say, George Floyd, look on George Floyd. You know how much Belizean at home they wear the George Floyd, all and they come up with poems. And I don't like, this is happening every day in Belize. Like we not see we do not see ourselves as worthy humans. We need to talk about that. Because all of that play into sports, all of that play into the psyche of developing our own people and seeing that we people have more greatness. You ever, I mean, Mr. Ramos, you talk to American. It no matter if they don't know our subject matter, they will speak confidently with a lot of self-assurance and, you know, a lot of self-assurance and they believe in themselves. You take a poor Belize child. Some of our children even want to look up in your face and have a conversation. Because they're almost like, they feel like they always have to bow down to somebody. And I think there's a lot, I think we need a culture shift. Before we address sports, I think we need to address how we treat the least of us. We need to treat people with that love.
Your thoughts there, Wellington.
Mrs. Lightfoot, you have said a lot, and the things that you are saying are so true. But because you mentioned so many things, maybe it is about time that the Minister of Sports have a sports commission to examine what are the causes and reasons why sports has declined in this country.
Right.
And give this commission the authority to make some substantial proposals to improve sports in this country. Because why are you a Minister of Sports if you don't have a vision and you don't have a plan? If you don't have a vision and a plan, you're going to fail in anything that you do. So everything starts with a vision and a plan. I have written about even changing our school curriculum, where each school in this country will have a teacher that will teach physical education in the class, in the schools. You know, we could start with one physical education teacher per school, and that would be a big plus.
Health teacher.
Gym, put some gyms in these schools. Make sure all the schools have a football field and all the equipment and everything that you need for sports. Because when I used to teach at a high school in New York, right, I wanted to coach the football team at the high school I was teaching. But the principal said to me, Mr. Ramos, soccer is not our priority here in America. Football is number one, basketball is number two, baseball is number three, and whatever is left, go to soccer. Straight out, that's what the principal told me. So
That's funding. That's where they get their funding,
yeah,
right?
that's where they get the funding. And we need to also improve the facilities because some of the kids in the city don't even have a place to play football. They lack. So build more fields, build more basketball courts, and not only build them, maintain them
Right.
so that the kids could constantly use them. I see some basketball courts around here, the rim broke up, and the place looks shabby, bushy. Football fields, the same thing. It might be the time now to merge, to establish a parks department in every community. So
You're right.
that the parks department could be responsible for the parks in the community to make
Right.
sure that everything is taken care of. This is 2024. We still living back in the early 1900s. There's so much that we can do. And the thing that I've been pushing for, you want to improve everything in Belize? Bring in the Belizean Americans. They have the resources. They have all the resources. We have veterans who have fought wars. We have people who have degrees. We are working in different companies. Belize cannot be the country that it wants to be without bringing in Belizean Americans. Anybody that believes that, they need to get a brain check.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think this division continues because I was raising, I always address the hot button topic, and people get emotional for hot button topics because I stay away from emotions. People don't understand half the times when I ask a question, it is to inspire people to at least discuss it. Because we call for a culture, point fingers, and they assume that you mean this, and people could get themselves worked up. But what you're saying is absolutely right. We need our parks department. What somebody will go around and not that one job where, you could get what, 5 people? You could pay them what, halfway $10 an hour, per week. What? How much that? Out of the government could probably they waste more money than that on nonsense, okay? Park all the government vehicle in per weekend and take their gas money and start to build up people. How effective that would have been if you go to the south side and they send the young boy where might say no one do nothing or can't get one job because they have one lead problem, put them for go in charge of the parks in their neighborhood. And build up individually, treat every division. But by the way, that's the way our area reps supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the job for we area reps, not
Right.
for being minister, Nobody elect any area rep for being minister. But it's an interesting phenomenon that people get upset when the area rep is elected and not get chosen as minister. Versus, I would have preferred my area rep in my community and they build up my community. That is what they're supposed to be doing. Like I listened to the house meeting recently. The house meeting is called the House of Representatives, meaning that they're in there, both parties, to represent you in the House of Representatives. I listened to all these politicians stand up and give report about finance and immigration, and I'm just calling different stuff. Nobody know to give a report about that division. Nobody said, hey, I am from X division. This week we were able to help so many people. We've created this in our division. We have created a park system, a football team. If your division have a football team, let our division. Not one person goes in there and talk about the work in their division. And it's called the House of Representatives. It is not the cabinet. It is not the Senate. It's the time for the area reps to get in there and talk about their division. And they're supposed to be in there advocating for resources for their division. So what struck me, and I stopped listening because at some point it just get toxic. But at one point, one of the ministers was advocating for resources for the community in the south, one immigrant community for Guinea, something water, so I don't remember what it was. And I was like, you are a Southside minister. You not even create the resources for your own people, and this is like your division. And this is what I'm saying. Our politics is bastardized at this point. And because it's bastardized, when you try have one real discussion, people think that you're attacking them, when really you're just to ask questions about what is right and what is wrong. Mr. Will, what are you doing here?
Will Meheia was joining us.
Just
I shared the thought with you. I didn't know you probably missed it.
I missed it. Sorry. I was
Yeah,
supposed to go see Will yesterday, but I couldn't make it.
Greetings, my brother. Welcome to the show. We are here with Wellington Ramos, and we are just wrapping up our conversation on Belizean sports and the passing of the legendary Belizean striker footballer Ricky Gongora.
Yeah.
So we had invited you to come in and share a few words with us about, the Sunday tribute to Layla Vernon.
Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, Saturday. And
Saturday.
also to give us some briefing about the whole Sarstoon situation with the whole Anglo-Guatemalan claim.
Yeah, well, this week Leela would have been 74 years, and she contributed a lot to the promotion of the Belizean music. So I figured that we can't just let her go like that. So I decided to organize something to remember her. Like the 3 artists from PG that we remember. I try to always remember them: Paul, Nabora, and the Palacio, and Leela. So I just decided, like, let's not let our legends go just like that. Let's continue to remember them and cherish them. I remember Leela specifically because she was, like, as far as I'm concerned, the first one to sing the national anthem in Creole, get it recorded. Probably not the first one to sing it in Creole, but she got it recorded, and I played a role in making that happen. So yeah. So we have to keep that memory alive. She always wanted to have a Creole museum and a Creole day, and she was into the Creole thing. So, people fight for a reason, for a cause, and I think that we should try and keep her dreams alive,
She was young. How many years ago has she passed on?
7 years ago. 7 years ago.
Okay. She died pretty young.
Yeah. She died pretty young, yes, yeah.
Will, too, they have an award in the Layla Vernon. They has on the National Celebrations Committee.
Yeah,
there is an award in her name.
Yeah, I saw that.
I remember one of your own Lions of the South, Leonidas Sanchez, had won that award. I had presented a proposal on his behalf, and he was able to get for his cultural activities and his work.
Okay. I didn't know that.
He was honored with the Layla Vernon Award.
Nice.
A man from your town.
From the neighborhood,
I got one of his little carving that says Belmopan.
All right, yeah. I saw that, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And so we expect to have a crowd day. I have to give credit to Niche. Niche has contributed, and they will bring down brought down artists from Belize City to perform.
Who is that? Yar Shine, Coconut Boy.
I think it's a female. I didn't get the name yet, but it's a female artist.
Saturday, where will it be Saturday?
Right at Leela's place. She had a restaurant before she died, and the restaurant is not really functioning anymore. But it's right at that same venue on Front Street at her residence.
In PG?
Yeah, in PG. Yeah, right there in PG. Yeah.
And all people go to North Front Street at Belize City and nothing not happen.
Pardon?
I know nobody go to North Front Street in Belize City and nothing is happening.
Oh yeah, no, it's Front Street in PG. Front Street in PG. At her place, she had a place called the Leela's Bistro. And a lot of youth go there and they play music, and they still play music they still go there to play music. And I hope that one day her dreams could be realized. She have maybe probably not officially, but a Creole museum with a lot of Creole history. You know, like a lot of people don't know that the Creole lived up in what is today a Maya village of Colombia, but it was the Creoles who actually lived there long before. I mean, well, for way back, the Mayans occupied that area, right, from the Mayan civilization because it's where New Lumantin. But for a while, no Mayans live in that area, and it was the Creole Lila's family who basically like occupied and settled that area that is now Colombia. So yeah, so it was the Creoles who was way up there in the river. They had like some people who came. I think Lila's family originally, some of her family came from Jamaica, and that's the area that they settled in. And you know, I mean, I think the history important for Belizeans to know. You know, when people think rural Toledo, they think it's strictly Mayans, but very few people know that, you know, the Garifunas were up there farming rice in that area, in Mafredai area, and up in Colombia area. A lot of black people used to live in that area. I mean, a few still do.
Well, it sounds like you need to write a book.
Yeah, probably.
That's
But
a lot of information.
Yeah, you know, we always be talking to Will about the Anglo-Guatemalan claim of disaster too, but for me, it's refreshing to hear Will talk about culture like this and give us this sort of demographic and this rich multicultural Punta Gorda, Toledo district. It's so exciting to hear you talk about that, Will, and because a lot of our people don't know even the history of the South. You know, look
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the whole Confederate thing and all of that is there, right?
Yeah. So
You know, some people, I was telling some Americans that, you know, we have Confederate cemeteries, and while a lot of the cultures of Belize practice really come from the South U.S. and
Yeah.
we equate it to the British, and it's not. That's why I think we should do some food history, because yeah, say within food-wise, while a lot of the food in Belize, that is same food when they have in the South in the U.S.
well, yeah,
Well,
for sure.
one that Johnny Cake,
And
they have Johnny Cake here.
yeah, we'll talk about that whole impact of the Confederate and Forest Home and all of that.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
kind of scoop into that.
yeah, you know, I mean, I'm honored, like, you know, I'm affiliated with the Kopali rum right now, and most people don't know that the first bottle of rum that was produced in Belize was actually produced in Punta Gorda, or on the outskirts of Punta Gorda. When the Confederates came to Belize, it was in the Toledo district that they settled, and you know, they planted sugar cane and produced some sugar. And during the Depression in America, the Great Depression, when they had like a ban on alcohol, sugar prices had fell, and they had to do something else, and they produced alcohol and smuggled it into America from Punta Gorda.
Wow.
People don't really know that, but yeah. And
Prohibition.
yeah, prohibition, yeah. And the rum that got into America, a lot of it came from Punta Gorda, where they had like, if you dig into the jungles of Belize right now, you'll still find old sugar cane mills that
I have seen them.
Sugar, yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Guy Foster, that is in Punta Gorda, had shown me those things. He said to me, I think you know the guy Foster, right?
Oh yeah.
He said that he's a descendant of the Confederate.
Yeah, they have a lot of people down there. They have some people who look
And he's a Creole.
as white as anybody in Louisiana, but they speak broad Creole. They're not direct descendants of the Confederates.
But you had a lot of mixture too, right? They mixed with the
of
local
course.
population.
Yeah, you know, they had a American student from from Washington State University, who did a PhD study down in Toledo and found that 1 out of every 3 people in Punta Gorda came from a racially mixed family.
Wow.
That's like a huge percentage,
That's a
right?
huge percentage right there. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you know, I mean,
Belize is littered with culture and lies.
yeah,
Because while how we mix up and things that happen based on, and I think DNA they unravel a lot of, and it's another thing. I think we should give a historical society where should ask people for submit voluntarily their heritage, so that we could know a real picture of what Belizeans really mix up with for real, and then we could stop telling each other the lies or follow with it, you know. Your grandpa, like I did my DNA, and I would have think British, barely any British. It's interesting But my husband, that's from Virginia, he do find DNA, and the European mix is mostly British, because that the who settled Virginia. But Belize was a pirate colony, and one lot of different cultures may they pass through Belize. The British controlled it, but Belize have a lot of different cultures that came in. Belize had Jews, we had
Yeah.
we had people that were running from the U.S. Wars. We had runaway African enslaved people that ran to Belize.
Yeah, and the white car, I think, like, that's
Yes.
a major part
Mosquito
of
Indian.
the mosquito Indians. That's a major part of our history that
Exactly.
they are not teaching anymore.
And
I
they
think
came
that
from out of the Nicaragua blue
Nicar-
feature, right?
yeah,
And that showed up in my son's DNA. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of lies, because we are trying to congest, like I was telling somebody, the term Creole and mestizo mean the same thing, you know.
yeah,
They
basically.
literally mean one are English, one are like one French.
Just to say, mixed race.
definition.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
next one that literally, like the term Creole is a French term. It's not even a British term,
Mhm.
because they have the same term in Louisiana. And the whole mestizo, because right now in Mexico, there is a group that are rejecting the term mestizo. They say mestizo came up for wipe out your individual cultures and make you just accept everybody just mix up.
Yeah,
So in Mexico, when they start to ask people, hey, do you have any black, for example, African blood? You know, when they finally put that on the census for Mexico, Mexico had 1.2 million black people and is the 8th most populous country outside of Africa with black people. Mexico.
Why? And because they don't know the history that Mexico won its independence through a black army,
But
Yanga
that's
the
what I'm
slave,
saying.
and
The term
Vicente
mestizo,
Guerrero and Jose Morelos, who was a part of that army that won, that beat the imperialist power Spain and won Mexico's independence.
and
Lots
I
of
want to
mestizo
say
Mexicans
Haiti,
don't even know that history.
and I want to say Haiti assisted them with that, right? Wasn't
Right.
Haiti involved in their
No,
revolution?
that was a whole separate revolution by
Okay,
itself.
okay.
Yeah, started with the maroon slave Yanga that came from out of the mountains and his descendants. The army that Vicente Guerrero led along with Jose Morelos was an army full of slaves,
Right.
and they
yeah.
call it the Black Army. Their flag was a green flag, and that is totally eliminated out of Mexican history.
So
But
that
in
maybe that's
Belize,
how come Mexico have that green in their flag?
Maybe that's why.
but you know,
The army was called the Black Army, the army that liberated Mexico and abolished slavery in Mexico. Abolish it under those two generals. Jose
in
Morelos.
our census, I was telling Nuri one time, even the way we do our census is wrong. Because in our census, we have decided to put mestizo as a group, when technically, Guatemalan, Salvadorian, Honduranian, they don't identify themselves as one set of people. But in Belize, why are we doing that? Why are we creating these censuses that makes it look like, oh, you know, they have the black population has seriously decreased? I really think that they are a very poor model, because really and truly we have people in Belize, many of them are indigenous that identify as mestizo, and they're not mestizo, they're really indigenous
Yeah,
people.
that's true. That's very,
You know?
very true.
And
Yeah,
so for we census, as far as I'm concerned, don't make no sense.
yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, we never even capture the expat community in our census.
yeah. Which are significant
US,
amount.
the U.S. Embassy is reporting that there's about 30 to 40,000 Americans living in Belize. Where is
Yes.
that on any census?
Census. Totally not there.
That's a 10% of your population.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
significant. It's a significant number that's not even captured in it. But I know we always go off handle because Mr. Ramos
Yeah.
with the
But
for
Will, before we bring back in Wellington, brief us on the Anglo-Guatemalan claim, the ICJ and the Sarstoon crisis that unfolded with you and the
it's
Yeah, but
BIG
because
in
we have to
September.
come off soon and
yeah, I definitely would like to get your feedback. I am sure you saw Asad Schumann on Jules Uncut a few weeks ago and how he totally dismissed the fact that the Guatemalans came into Belizean territory and assaulted innocent Belizeans. He basically
Yes.
played it off, and I thought that was
Totally
like
evaded it.
yeah, I thought that was not only evaded it, but he downplayed it. He basically like almost wanted
like it wasn't a big deal.
yeah, like it wasn't a big deal. The way he
No
sprawled
big
off in
deal.
the chair and said that, hey,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, these guys they came into Belize, disrespected Belizeans, assaulted Belizeans in Belizean territory, and he just played that off. I mean, I felt that was very degrading, and I mean,
Yes,
for
indeed.
for a guy who's being paid by Belizean taxpayers' money and ambassador. And the same person who came to Belize and was going from village to village to urge Belizeans to vote yes
Vote
to the
with it.
ICJ
Exactly.
and to just disregard this. And he was the one of the things he used to convince Belizeans to vote yes was he told Belizeans that, hey, once this thing is at the ICJ, Guatemalan will not be allowed to hamper Belizeans or intercept Belizeans on the Sarstoon, and that has never stopped even since our case went to the ICJ. In fact, it had like increased. And then another lie he told on that show was that, oh well, these incidents are far and few. It's not like before the case went to the ICJ. That's crazy,
Well,
I
I
mean,
would expect him to have a better idea because that's how Israel and Palestine started. You have a greater power will start
And
to
if you're talking about that,
and
he
take
came in and
away.
led one of the main organizers of the anti
Yeah,
Zionist thing in Israel, and led
yeah.
was one of the main architects to lead a protest demonstration. These guys are very partial, but when it comes to the Anglo-Guatemalan claim, Will, as you were saying, the man is evading the issue.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
He's
So it's
totally.
acting
like
like
it's
he's
like
acting like the
he's
US
talking out of
with
the two sides of his mouth.
he's
Yeah,
acting like the US with Israel. No, he's
yeah.
like that guy for Guatemala. But with that being said, Harlan, they hit me up. We're already at time, guys. I don't understand how will he jump in so late. And
Yeah, no, I was having some meetings, some Kopali meetings. That's my purpose of
Polly,
being in Miami. So I had to like be
yeah,
meeting with people who, putting out the brand in here in Florida. So yeah,
okay.
that's how
Hey,
I
my
got
brother,
late.
glad that you were able to pitch in at the last moment. Better late
Yeah,
than never, right?
yeah,
So we
yeah,
want
yeah.
Mr. Ramos to tell us
Before we leave,
yes.
before we leave, I personally suspect that the Belize government, both UDP and PUP, have made concession to the Guatemalan government in regards to the Sarstoon without our knowledge. Because I don't see why Guatemala would continue to do what they are doing. And the reason why I have this suspicion is because we have the authority to take these incursions to the UN Security Council, file a complaint against Guatemala for the incursions and the harassment and everything else that they are doing, not only in the Sarstoon, but in the western part of our country where they are setting up farms, they are taking out our Mayan artifacts,
Yeah,
a
indeed.
lot of
That's
things.
not in our
They have
national
already invaded our
protected
country,
areas. Yeah,
I really
protect.
and
don't think
none of our foreign ministers have done anything.
I really don't think it's that sinister. I just think that we are lazy people. And it shows up in our politicians. It shows up in a lot of things. We're not serious as a country. And until we become a serious people, we want to start to deal with things seriously. I think we're very, personally, I think we take everything as a joke. Everything is a joke, no big deal. I even listened to a reporter say on TV, they're not like Guatemala could ever come over. That's far fetched. And I'm like, when you have them start thinking, You
Yeah.
could tell Belizeans are not used to war. We're not used to international conflict. With a very innocent set of people, because Belizeans cannot see themselves as what Palestine right now. But the world is changing, and you don't know what the world will change into. Their
Yeah.
countries are used to war. They're used to playing the long game. For we politicians, about 5 year stint. Who are winning next election? Who are winning
Yeah.
next election? That's what we depend as one nation.
Exactly.
You
Waiting for
know?
the next party government to come in.
Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, sorry that I was late. Thank you, Mr. Ramos, for taking time out to come, and Will, apologies I couldn't make
Yeah.
it tomorrow. But definitely we'll catch up next time.
For
And
sure. Thank you.
guys, if anybody want to have any last say, because I know Harlan, here, cut this off as soon as we're done. Because we don't take up the man time. So.
Your last parting shot there, Wellington Ramos.
Well, I'm very grateful to have been given the opportunity to pay my respect to my good friend Ricky Gongora, and calling on all the football players and friends to attend his funeral if they have the time this coming Saturday. And I'll be providing more information as to the venue and what is going to happen at the funeral service and the repast. Thank you all very much.
It's in Belize City?
Belize City.
Okay. Yeah.
Very much so.
When is it? When? Saturday?
Saturday, this coming Saturday.
What time?
I don't have the information yet, but I was told by his brother-in-law that he will be buried this Saturday, and he at the 3 Mile Cemetery, and they're gonna have a repast at a venue. I'll have all the information by tomorrow morning.
How can the people reach out to you if they needed to find out?
I have a posting that I just sent to
Okay.
brother Bilal
Okay.
with the death announcement. My email address and my phone numbers are on it.
Okay. Great. Great.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Your last parting shot there, Will.
Yeah, again, I just want to, first of all, I want to salute the diaspora, man, for, keeping Belize in the forefront. A lot of things that Belizeans are so preoccupied with, so many other things that, like today, the stuff that ARIA posted about what went through the house recently. Most Belizeans are not even familiar with that. So, you guys are kind of like keeping an eye out.
Will, before you give me the credit, I will say it was a Belizean at home that shared that with me. But people, a lot of times people don't want to share things.
And that's why I have a show. My talk show is called Talk of the Tongue, because I talk about what they are afraid to talk about out there.
Yeah.
And even though it's a right issue to talk about.
Yeah. I don't know when we get past that, but we need to get past that. And until we get past that, I mean, so many people in small circles are talking about the criminals that they see on stage at Belizeans that are endorsing at Sunday's so-called convention, but nobody wants to say it. It's look there's people in that who they are advocating to be future leaders of this country who can't even leave the country because of their criminal record. Come on, man, where are we?
Yeah, really, like you said some time back, they're afraid of.
Yeah, free it up, Belizeans.
I think some of the fear palpable. I mean, some of the politicians, they take away of food, and you have to think about family. Like one person that was on the show, Buddy Brown, one time said they take away they take away job, and he had about 10 kids. Those things are. But I feel like you're right, Will. I feel like every time you give in, you give them more power.
Yeah, exactly. When you give in, the bad guys win,
Right.
400,000 people, 31 politicians.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess with that said, we want to say this again is Naval String Connections. I'm Bilal Morris with ARIA LIGHTFOOT. And we also had our guest today talking about Belizean sports and football and the tribute and the memorial for the legendary great Ricky Gongora. We want to thank our brother Wellington Ramos, who joined us today and accepted an invitation at such a late date to come in and to make this show. Also, we want to thank you, Will Meheia, for coming in and give us a briefing. We hopefully we can get you back some more to give us more about the Anglo-Guatemalan claim, the whole South Studio, the man on the south there, the difference that you're making. So we got to be bringing you back, as this ICJ thing just sits there and Belizeans are wondering if they're going to wake up one day and their country is going to be there. We want to thank you very much, Will. And again, Aria, it was a pleasure for you to join us. And like me, I like coming late sometimes. Aria have to hold it for that. And we want to thank our brother Harlan of all the time.
Thanks, Harlan, for staying back late.
Yes, man. And we want to say this is a XTV production. Nur Muhammad is our producer. Thanks to Harlan in the control. And join us again next week for another episode of Navel String Connection, when we will be back again with news, views, and reviews for you, Belizean diaspora, and you at home. We want to say again, thank you for watching. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I am a true born Belizean.
Tell them that we born there.
Belize my home, my native land.
Tell them that we born there.
I want you people to understand.
Tell them that we born there.
I am proud to be a Belizean.